Welcome to From the Ashes, the Dungeon Crawler Network podcast, all about Ashes of Creation by Intrepid Studios. Bear witness to the rebirth of the MMORPG genre from the ashes of an industry that has left the gamers behind. I'm your guest host, Agelos, once again. They keep dragging me back. They got a snare on me. I don't know what's happening. It's nuts. Anyway, I'm joined by these awesome, amazing co-hosts. I guess first off, I should introduce the main host. That would be Stormzlord. How are you, sir?
I'm doing great, Ed. Glad to have you back.
Yeah, I was here last week, and then Krojak put some sort of rope around my leg, ball and chain.
I did not.
That was Alpha Soul.
That was Alpha Soul.
That was totally Alpha. Dragged you back.
Snuck in there. We got Alpha Soul. How are you doing, buddy?
Doing good. A little tired, but I'm good.
Nice. Now, what does your shirt say?
My shirt says, I drink and I know things. Tyrion.
Oh,
No.
nice.
No.
Okay. I thought it was going to be a Shakespearean thing, like I drink, therefore I am, or
Wow,
along those lines. No philosophical. All right. No, I read a little too much into that. And of course, we've got the armory over there, Krojak.
If you're watching the video, and if you listen to the podcast, this is weird. If you're watching the video, I'm currently petting a phoenix, and it looks hilarious. There's this bird over my webcam frame. I don't know why it's here, but I'm petting it.
Oh. I was wondering why you were doing that as well, because I didn't have the stream
The whole
up.
time you were talking, I'm just petting this thing.
Yeah. Okay.
Poor podcast listeners are like, what are you talking about?
They probably also don't get the armory comment because of all the swords
Nope.
hanging on your wall. So,
Yep.
Wow, that's awesome. Fail at podcasting. You know, audio listeners, what in the world is he talking about? Failing to describe the thing in which he is talking about.
Use your imagination. Just visualize me petting a bird. Fine.
I don't know many people who pet a bird like this. That seems kind of...
Okay, it's
Gross.
virtual, and I'm trying to like approximate where it is in my room, and it's weird. Come on.
Yeah, okay.
Really
All
weird.
right.
Mhm. You caught
Right.
petting a bird. Okay.
Yeah.
Hey, what I do in my free time is my business. And everything's fine. I'm a responsible, tax-paying adult. I can do what I want.
Well, tax paying, anyways.
True. It's true. I do that at the very least.
Yeah, definitely. All right. Anyway, let's go ahead and jump right on into the show. We got a couple things to talk about this week. A little bit of a game news update with the developers giving us a few little nice tidbits from the latest live stream. Some pretty things to look at. I believe we have those rolling on the screen at some point when we get to that. Not right now. Oh, nope. There they are. Oh, that's awesome. So we will be talking about those, and then we'll also do a little bit of some theory crafting discussion because we like to do that. We're here, we talk about games, and we enjoy it, and you guys are foolish enough to continue to listen to us. So there you
For
go.
some strange reason, we're 100 plus episodes in.
They keep coming back.
They keep coming back.
Yeah, it's because of this voice right here. This deepness. Yeah. All right, let's go ahead. Let's jump right on in to the live stream development update. I'm going to let Stormzlord take that away.
I must talk about this because this freaked me out and made me excited. What's on the screen right now for you podcast listeners is very, very beautifully done CG concept art of the tropical zone in the world of Ashes of Creation. And they gave us a really cool piece of information in the live stream, and that was this tropical zone will be heavily featured in the Alpha 1 playthrough that's supposed to be NDA lifted and supposed to be visible to people. So if you're watching it right now in the YouTube video, or if you're listening to the podcast, this tropical, beautiful place that reminds you of Pirates of the Caribbean, you're probably going to see a lot of that coming up pretty soon.
Let's go ahead and rotate through a couple of the environment all the way up through environment 10, if we can, so we can have those kind of on repeat while we're looking through this.
That
all right.
is going to be phenomenal running through all that.
Oh, with boats and please let me sail. Oh my God.
Yeah, it looks great. I love it.
And if we remember from the map, that was the western zone?
Yes, the
Northwest?
northwestern. Yeah.
Bring the map back up, but yes, there was the Western Zone.
Yeah. So does that mean we're going to see a
Am
lot
I
of
the only one who doesn't? It gets Atlas flashbacks when I see zones like that.
No, Sea of Thieves, man. Sea of Thieves.
Sea of Thieves. All right.
With the
All right.
with the humongous rock formations that are making this like entryway into like this cove of islands and stuff, I see that in Sea of Thieves all the time, and it just
Sure.
it's really
Just
cool.
a word to the wise: if you're traveling with Krojak and he utters this phrase, "I'm gonna thread the needle," jump off the ship.
Get off now.
I am an expert at sailing those things. All right. Even though I never said sailing when I play, I say I'm driving the boat and I'm parking over there. No, you sail the boat and you dock it over there. No. I'm driving and I'm parking. Let's go. Slam on the brakes.
Indeed.
So as
Wow.
you're flying through really flying through the screenshots,
I
in the same zone and the needle's going through, you see the amphibious mounts,
Yes.
right? And so we're gonna sort of segue out of another podcast and mounts, bringing mounts into this whole conversation here. The idea of having mounts in Ashes, not only have mounts that are on land, but mounts that are amphibious.
Mm-hmm.
That's going to be tremendous. To me, a way to move back and forth with the ability to move faster, but also with the caravan. What are you going to do when you have the whole guild going through, right? When you have a larger mount.
And the question is, these aquatic mounts that we've seen, they do move significantly faster in the water than on land. They're actually slower than walking on land, but they're really fast in the water. Will they be faster than ocean-bearing vessels? Would it be more efficient to travel on those than a boat?
That'll be
I
a
don't
good
know,
question.
They seem quick.
Think about that. And can they stop a boat?
I got
Ooh.
Waterworld stuck in my head right now.
That's an awesome movie. But anyways, that's a great way to take on a boat, right? Think
Mhm.
about
Mhm.
Or to raid one, to come
Mhm.
up on one and raid it.
it. Right
Plunder
from
it.
below.
I can imagine if I were to guess, they're not going to be faster than a boat, because the whole idea of the boat would be that it can haul
Cargo.
cargo.
People.
Or if it's faster than a boat, it's faster for a small period of time, but then runs out of stamina. You're not starting at the shore and catching up to a
Mhm.
boat. That's something where you're on your boat, you catch up to the other boat, you jump onto your guy to dock.
So you're going to
Something about
ambush.
that. A question about stamina came up in the live stream about swimming, right? Do you have a stamina meter for swimming? Because if you remember, like in World of Warcraft, if you swim out too far from the shore, stamina would occur, so you can't swim out in the ocean. So far, they've said they're not doing the whole stamina thing for swimming.
Oh, the exhaustion?
specifically. Yeah, the exhaustion kind of deal. You'll have breath for going underwater, but in terms of like swimming, apparently you can just keep going. So one, I look forward to being the world first man or dwarf or whatever to swim across the channel between the west continent and the east continent. I will claim that title. First human or whatever should do it. I'll swim across the whole bloody thing. I don't care how long it takes.
Well,
Hit auto run and then go make a sandwich.
Get out of run.
yeah. Well, WoW's stamina meter though was more for not going into areas where there was no content.
Yes.
Right.
Mhm.
So I mean, if you could swim to an area that would allow you to, it would let you. Right. It would
Mhm.
let you do that, and stamina wouldn't really come into play. It was just once you hit that was their solution for the edge of the world type scenario.
And we did learn from the map, and correct me if I'm wrong, because it's been a while since I knew this, but the world's not round, right? They did mention that when you hit the edges of the map, that you're not to the other
Mhm.
side.
So the world is probably round, but there's gonna be invisible walls basically.
No, that's right. We
So-
came up with the flat Vera.
Right, flat Vera. Right.
Yeah,
Flat
flat
Vera.
Vera society.
Which
I'm-
means, the westernmost islands and easternmost islands are as far apart on the map as you could possibly be.
Mhm.
They don't just wrap around. It's literally as far apart. So if you have a node over here and a node over here, good luck communicating or
Yeah.
trading or anything.
Yeah.
But back to the mount part and the speed. I wouldn't mind seeing, I like to have the boats maybe have some acceleration and then a top speed that is greater than the mounts. So a boat instantly going to top speed out of dock makes no sense. But a boat accelerating slowly and then eventually getting to a top speed that surpasses water mounts makes sense to me.
Depends on the boat.
Depends on the boat.
Is it a hauler or is it a small boat?
Yeah, are we talking about a tanker carrying cargo? Or are we talking about a sailboat?
Different
Like,
types of boats, different type of mounts. So you're gonna think about how you're gonna ambush a boat or ambush a caravan, right? If the caravan's in the water, same type of thing. How are you going to do it?
Right.
I want
Now,
animal
Steven did
husbandry.
say there's multiple parts. Like you're going to outfit a boat like you would a
faster
character.
haul. Yeah, you
Yeah.
equip it with better gear, right? Please,
And
let
I
me
would assume
breed.
that there would be skills and things associated. Like while you're behind the wheel, you've got maybe your hotbar disappears and now you have the boat skills. Like that would be pretty neat to have.
Well, that would be interesting, right? And where you are in the boat, what skills you have.
Mm-hmm.
Are you piloting the boat? Are you defending the boat?
You know what? I don't want a boat. I want a jet ski. I don't want a boat. I want a jet ski. I want to breed through animal husbandry the fastest aquatic mount I possibly can and basically have a jet ski and chase after boats.
I want to breed and stopped.
Make a stingray.
Okay.
Just maximum speed capability, maximum acceleration. I want me and my whole squad of like 8 people with these amazing aquatic mounts to go as fast as possible and then raid ships.
Yeah.
That's what you want to do.
More jet skis.
I still feel like they're going to have to do something for the mounts because otherwise no one's going to have a boat. The only time you'll see a boat
Caravan
is if it's cargo. Yeah, it's caravan. Everyone else will just be on water mounts running around and then they just attack any boat they see because it's not like, oh, the person's exploring or the person's questing. They have a boat. Their caravan.
Yeah. They
The boat have to be protected. So the boat's going to have its protection as well. Just like any other caravan.
I think depending on the boat, will determine the speed. At least that's how I think it should be.
It should go faster than mounts.
Yeah. Or at least, like you said, have skills that you can sprint, like, essentially sprint on your boat to get away from mounts or whatever, or evasive maneuvers and all of that fun stuff.
Another nice little tidbit the developers mentioned was these location, these islands, these huge stone archways, and all this kind of amazing vertical landscapes to allow for some very fascinating mechanics of attacking boats and jumping onto boats and things like that. I'm very excited to think that the developers are keeping in mind these vertical spaces and using them interestingly or effectively. I want quests.
Try jumping onto a boat. It's hard. I've tried jumping onto a boat. That's hard.
That's a video game, whatever.
That's a tough.
Fine. The movies, they jump on horses from balconies in movies all the time. They're swinging from ropes onto boats, and no, it's movies. It's all good. It's a video game.
There you go.
In response to one of the things I want to pull up here from this developer live stream they show us, can we pull up the Dwarves 1 image as well on the live stream for those who wish to see it? Obviously, if you're not watching this live or you're not watching this on our YouTube channel, which is youtube.com/Dungeon Crawler Network, you should do that. Maybe you should be listening to it on the podcast while having it running in the background, so that way you can get both views. I don't know, whatever, but you can see what we're talking about as well. This is the example of the Dwarven Armor for
Junior.
Yeah. Is it the junior armor?
That is not Vec, and that is definitely Junior. It's 2G.
Oh yeah, no. Yeah, they're not naked island folk.
Yeah, not the island folk.
Yeah. But this thing, I actually really like this Dwarven Armor so far.
I'm not shocked.
Really? How come?
Well, I like minimalistic.
That's
okay.
Why. Okay.
Minimalistic is something that I'm very, very fond of. Okay. And also the other thing is I had spoken to Steven about this in the past because we both are very, very large lovers of Tolkien and all of his work. And one of the things that I specifically like about this particular piece is that the Dwarven Armor, especially if you look at the one with the cape on it, you've got the gemstones in very geometric shapes, right? They're flat-sided, they're very sharp angles, and it just feels very whenever I see this, I'm thinking the scene from The Hobbit with Thorin and his everything was exact sharp angles, and I love that. I also like that it's padded leather, which is awesome. You got a little bit of chainmail, and then you also have some scales on the bottom. Those are a little fringy, but I do like those. I think it looks nice. It's not really an armor. In that particular case, that's more ornamentation, but there were scale. Actually, that wouldn't even be scale. That would be oh crud. What is splint mail? Splint mail would have had that particular armor ornamentation, but it would have been everywhere. And I love it. Absolutely love it.
And that geometric art style is definitely translated to their architecture. If we move on to the next images in this set, like the beds and the buildings and the furniture and the bookshelves, everything is so strong lines and no round edges anywhere to be seen on anything.
Let's bring up the king bed image so we can actually have that brought up on the screen as well, so people can view what that actually looks like. Because I do like. I see the chair and all that. Those are some beautiful images. Like you said, everything is sharp angles.
There's not a round, soft edge to be seen on any of this. Hell, if that sheet could have been made out of like hard fabric that had a straight edge, they'd do it.
How do you know it's not? They starch it like crazy.
Starch it like crazy.
Steel wool, baby.
Starch orders.
You hang it up on the clothesline to dry, and if it drops, it shatters like glass.
Pillowcases are a firm, hardened leather.
Yeah.
That's a pretty high bunk bed for that dwarf, though. It's a serious bunk bed.
And speaking about the bunk beds, we already knew there was going to be some like rested benefits, but apparently you can have rested benefits with a friend in a bunk bed. Well, additional rested benefits, rested buffs with friends.
Please explain.
When a mommy dwarf and a daddy dwarf love each other very much and they sleep in the bed, they get +3 to attack.
-3 to money earned.
Now, I'm curious to know like the strength of these rested bone benefits.
Yeah.
And how long do you have to rest to trigger them? Right?
Right.
Is it something you're just gonna like overnight when you log out in your bed if you can? You wake up with the body buffs. Or is it like click it, buff activates in like a second?
Well, if we go back to our BDO, remember when we were playing BDO, you would have house items you would click for buffs.
Yeah, it was a tap.
Yeah, just one tap, good to go. Bed, I would imagine, would probably be a log out bonus, but again, that would encourage you to log out in your home versus wherever it is that you log out at the time. Can we also, while we're talking about that, bring up Mount 1 image?
This dude. This guy is a thick boy.
Yes, so he's pretty swole, and not like the swole breaker. This guy's got some definition.
Swole breaker, it might have to step aside for this boy.
Swole breaker had a little bit of more mass to him. He was definitely what is that? The endomorph body type.
Yeah.
This dude, he's shapely. He's shapely.
He's fresh out of the gym with a pump on. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah,
good.
Oh yeah, maybe oiled a bit. He's competition right here. This is competition, but this is this is a dwarf mount. This is a buff mountain goat. This is a Dunair mount. That's what it is. It has to be. It is a racial mount.
Probably 2 hands tall. Right, it's probably just really short.
Yeah.
Right, look at it. It's like,
Yeah, it has no neck at all.
But what is up with like almost lion-esque paws, and yet the bottoms of them seem to be quite hoof-like and tough. It's an interesting way of doing it.
Still better than the orangutan feet on the swole breaker. That still to this day haunts my dreams.
Yeah.
Those hands, those feet, they freak me out. I can't do it.
So the swole breaker, you could clearly see the different animals that they put together in this kind of marrow-like thing. They were clearly broken apart and defined. The tail was a raccoon. The wings were a butterfly. This creature has features similar to animals, but they've been twisted and warped and modified enough to make it still feel quite unique and not easily identified to any one animal. That body kind of looks like a bulldog. Also kind of looks like a bear, but the high arch in the back doesn't look like either, right?
Can we get
legs-
the image mount 2 with the frontal image? I want to see that because it does have that bulldog. Now that you mention it, because it's aiming, it does kind of have that bulldog mastiff kind of feel to it, doesn't it?
Feel that,
Yeah, but it's got that Boreback look.
Yeah, but a Boreback, like, right?
Yeah.
But it's not so clean and cut and dry where you go bang, 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 you find the 5 animals. It's more homogenized, which makes it feel like a living, breathing thing.
The tail is unique.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think it's such a unique combination. You can't pick out the different, say, earth animals, right? That it looks more real.
That is a lion tail, a lion body.
Yeah, but the shoulders are so big.
Oh yeah, that's a Hulkin. Well, if you look at the Sabretooth.
Yeah.
I mean,
and the horns are neat because they're like ram horns, but they look like exaggerated versions of ram horns where the ridges are huge and they're.
Do you know what they look like?
Armored looking.
I really do like
Ankylosaur.
The what?
The dinosaur, the Ankylosaur, the one with the big ball for a tail.
Yeah.
You know, like it has that armor ridge going on. Yeah. I'm specifically talking about the design shape for the ridges. Reminds me of the dinosaur armor ridge scale.
Oh, yeah, I guess, yeah.
Right? Yeah.
Yeah.
Why does it have a cute little rabbit nose, though? Like, if you just hid everything else and looked at the nose, oh, it's an adorable little bunny rabbit. Oh, it's not a bunny rabbit.
I want to boop it on the nose.
Just boop it, snoop. Boop, so cute. And then you look at its horns, you're like, please don't hurt me. Please don't.
It's gonna take you out with the horns.
It's funny when you look at the actual spine, like the mane. That is boar bristle hair.
Yeah,
definitely.
Yeah. And like lion paws, but with hooves on the bottom. It's so unique, but it's like I said, it's melded together nicely, and it's really
the
cool.
back paws are definitely cat-like because of the way they bend. That is a cat-like leg. Absolutely cat-like. That's a pretty beast. How about we pull up the let's look at some of the work in progress armors. We'll start with armor 1 and just kind of look at this one. I'm gonna immediately hate it.
Elven.
It's elves.
Elven.
Yeah, it's elf.
Even for elf armor, it doesn't do it for me.
It's not bad.
It's not as frilly as you'd think.
Yeah.
Oh, thank goodness.
This looks like lower class foot soldier armor for an elf.
Mm-hmm.
Not
if
a whole
we look
lot of
over
armor.
at the work. Yeah, the workplace 2 actually does take the back into it, and it does kind of have a weird, exaggerated Tolkien-esque feel, but I feel like it's exaggerated a bit more because whenever you look at Tolkien's work, all right, his was more realistic, but then you get into the movies and whatnot, and those were exaggerated, and I feel like that, and this is just one more exaggeration step up, not as exaggerated as say Dungeons and Dragons or anything of that nature. The pauldrons aren't as big as the head, but it almost has an ESO level feel of exaggeration. Which
I like that would be close. That would be a good close analogy. Yeah.
The fact that they're trying different things with capes, though, makes me a bit happy. Because capes can be pretty boring and dull. They go down your back and just kind of chill there, right?
Multi-layered cape.
Like multiple layer cape, or I want to see humongous cloaks. We've seen some of those in cosmetics and stuff like that.
I want to see the Renaissance 1 cloak off the one arm so you can hide the one arm.
Yep, I've seen that.
Yeah, for the rapier. Yeah, because that was the rapier user cloak right there, so you could hide the arm, hide the armaments that you had on you, and then whip them out when someone insulted you. So there you go.
Roguelike.
Yeah, that was the ancient day concealed carry. Nice. Okay, let's move on to the next work in progress armor 3, which still looks now again more elven related, but this is colored. I actually don't mind this at all. Again, that's scale mail. And a little bit of history. Scale mail is unique. It was developed in various parts of the world, but scale is almost iconically Irish and Scottish in nature. Almost I don't want to say that's where it even originated from, but that's where you tend to actually see it the most in popular portrayals. Okay. And the reason why I think that's important is because Irish lore is where we often get lore for elves and those things.
That Celtic kind of feel.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So having them wearing a scale armor is something I think is very, very cool. I like the layered boots, where the boots have the multiple layers built over top of each other, almost like scales themselves. Very, very cool. I'm not sure I like the elven skull cap thing going on, but hey, whatever.
Again, a low level grunt kind of.
Oh yeah, no, this is low level armor, but I'm just admiring the individual pieces that I think are very, very unique.
I'm
and
happy
very,
we're
very
seeing-
cool.
Well,
It's
like
nice
Chet
to
said,
see
a blacksmith.
What the leather in front? That's weird.
Yeah.
That just feels out of place. Like I don't even know what
Keeps
that
growing
is.
Warm.
Yeah, but
Metal is cold.
all right. So first off, you would wear the leather under the metal.
That's
You want to
the-
talk?
out of
You want to
material.
talk about chub rub? Okay, you try getting chub rub with chainmail. All right, you get blisters the size of quarters.
They
Leather
ran
goes
out of iron,
under the metal.
and they needed to put, fill
Because
the gap
again,
on
if it's cold outside, guess what happens to metal? It gets cold. It's against your skin. Guess what? You get cold.
that. Guess what? Magic says no. I stay warm because
Magic says no. That's right.
Magic keeps you warm. There you go.
That's magic
Eh.
chainmail right there.
Yeah.
That's it.
Plus
Totally
2
it.
warmth.
Magic chainmail. There you
too warm.
Plus 2 warmth. Plus 10 to virginity.
go.
But again, that looks like a blacksmith apron. But why is it so short? It's like topless blacksmith. Why would you do that? Especially if you're a particularly hairy chested person. You won't be hairy chested for long if you are blacksmithing with a half apron. That's what I'm going to call it now, a half apron.
A half apron. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Maybe that's the leather loincloth that they put on the outside and they got a little messed up there. I don't really know. Moving on to Armor 4. Let's pull that bad boy up. Again, more of the elven style, a little bit of an exaggerated shoulders, but I do like the layered design.
I can't stand this one.
Okay, why?
I hate everything. I don't know. The color scheme, the way it looks, that stupid
Let's just
hat.
assume that colors can
Shoulders.
be changed.
I don't know. There's nothing about this makes me feel like a warrior.
Can I tell you what the hat
I was
makes
just
me?
on a
It
fashion
feels like
show
he
one
has
way.
no. It feels like he has a rotten banana peel on top of his head.
Yeah.
Oh, the hat.
Does it not look like a banana peel that's turned brown?
It's kind of.
Yeah. An elven fashion show diva went to the general and said, "Your army looks terrible. Let me spice it up for
Pretty
you."
much.
Okay. And here we are. And this is this.
Let's try
We're
this.
gonna make your war fabulous.
And the general, his jaws hit the floor because he's like, "I can't make my army wear this." But the king has spoken, and now here we are.
There
I
you
think
go.
what does it for me is those wing, like the top portion.
Yeah, it's just
The wings,
the pointy
right?
shoulder thing going on.
Just went shoulder pads,
Ah,
Yeah.
It's
I
from
don't
the
mind the midsection.
We're
I don't mind the plants.
I thought we got rid of shoulder pads in the 80s. That was something we
Yeah.
went, no, this
Well,
is
we
as a
didn't burn them
collective
all.
society. We
But
said
they're
no.
back.
Oh, well.
If this guy walks into a bar, I'm taking his money and leaving. Like I'm robbing him. Like
Depends
I'm
on the bar.
beating him up. I'm taking his stuff because he doesn't intimidate me in the slightest.
No. But I mean, he is an elf, so it.
At least the
Seems
rain
fitting.
stays off his shoulders, right? He's dry under there. You know what I mean? The raincoat's great.
Yeah. Yeah. Yes.
I don't like it.
It's pretty short for it to be a raincoat. It's going to just drip further down.
Doesn't
be-
even serve a function.
Fail at that point, too.
Those of you who played ESO, you know what this reminds me of? The Red Guard leather armor.
I'm gonna Google.
The original game leather armor, Red Guard, because it's that layered strips that tend to
Mhm.
mask over one another, to lay over. That's exactly what it reminds me of. I almost feel like anyone who's listening to the podcast now, look up the Red Guard leather or racial armor in ESO in leather, medium, or even medium, and tell me it does not look like this. At least in general That's what it feels like.
Yeah.
The shoulders are clearly elven because they have those weird shoulder things, that ephod looking thing. All right, last piece of armor is Work in Place Armor 5. This I actually do like. This is the Valoon armor.
Yep.
Very Arabian Nights.
Fantastic.
I like it.
Yeah, start singing from Aladdin here, but we're good.
Not too over the top. Looks functional.
God, the
Looks
boots.
comfortable to wear.
I hate the
do
wing
love
tips.
the where?
The curved tip shoes, man.
But
I didn't look at
that is
I've hated that for
Arabian
such a long-
Nights.
I know.
Yeah.
I've hated it for such a long time. I can't do it.
I love that. That's probably the thing I love the most.
So what was the purpose of it, right? So if it was
Yeah.
that
Your
shoe,
arm.
is it to keep it above the sand? What's the
Yeah.
idea? behind
Yeah,
it, right?
it's like snowshoes built in for sand. You know, you just keep it up there.
Oh, it has a function. Hey.
I also like the rounded almost look, because that again is scale mail, but
Yeah.
it's rounded to look like coins.
Different than
Yeah. Then
and there's
the-
your
the-
one shoulder cloak we talked about.
in a way, yeah, a little longer, but yeah. I like the gorget. The gorget looks really cool. For those who don't know what, yeah.
Setsun Gorget, huh? Maybe.
Yeah. Yeah. For those who don't know what that is, that's the metal clasp that goes around the neck to prevent, anything going into your neck.
Oh.
Yeah. That is that particular metal piece. And it's on both, and it's the identical. I do like that. I like that a lot.
Yeah, and the color, the golden faded blue is fantastic.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. And see,
Is that how you pronounce it? Gorget?
Yeah, GOR.
GORGET, I think, or something like that.
I think that's right. Yeah. It's either that or gorget, but add some French to it.
You say
Yeah.
that it's French, huh?
Maybe.
I don't know. If it's a French invention, well then it's Gorget, but
Yeah. I just know what it is. But yeah. Why don't you pull that up on Google and click the pronounce it for me?
Gorget from the French gorge, meaning throat. There you go.
Oh, okay, good. No, the only reason why that just jumped out at me is because they had that in UO, but I just never heard it actually said. I just remember the spell, and I was like, "Oh, I think that's what he's talking about." Okay.
Yeah, very, very few games even. It's so funny in MMOs and stuff like that. You have a neck slot, but it's always necklaces. Why can't I have one of these? This is what I want. I don't want no dangling necklace. I want one of these.
Google diction said gorget. The hard
Gorget.
They said gorget.
Gorget.
Google diction said that to me.
Mhm.
Excellent. I would believe it. I pronounce words wrong all the time. I just know what I'm speaking about, and you knew enough.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But I mean, my goodness, I've been saying my own name wrong for 10 years, so it's okay.
I also like the non-symmetrical nature of this clothing. So you've got the one shoulder having the cloak going down. Asymmetrical. That works too. And then below the waistline, you've got the opposite side having the long white cloth and then the chainmail. Maybe because you can't see the other side of the body, but from this perspective, it seems to be offset on either side, and that's kind of cool.
Oh, and it corresponds with the sash because the sash goes down the other side.
Oh, the blue sash on the other side, and then the right arm has the yellow metal bracelet. The left arm has the blue cloth. So I like having it not symmetrical, asymmetrical. That's actually a nice touch.
Yes, this is probably my favorite armor we've seen tonight. I love it, and I love the banded helm, the spike helm. Yeah, I love the banded helm.
Yeah, I like that one more than the other one.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that one is, well, of course, because guess what? It's human inspired, not elves, so therefore it's automatically better. Have you noticed the armors I love the most? We got the Dwarven Armor, and then now the Valoon helmet armor. I
would
love it.
Vec armor, like some amazing, spiky, angry Vec orc armor. I can't wait.
It's going to be a bone loincloth.
Vec is the Oracle. The Renkai?
Renkai.
Yeah, sorry, that's what I want to see. Not Vec. Vec of the Oracles. I want to see the Renkai armor. I want to see
the Renkai armor will be probably this weird orcish Japanese mix.
Oh.
Yeah.
Wait.
We're going to have the orc samurai is essentially what we're going to have.
If that's if
it's Orc Samurai, yeah,
I'm in. I'm all in.
It's all there.
Oh, that'd be so good.
All right. Where are we at here in time? Okay, let's go ahead and does anyone have anything else they actually want to discuss about the developer updates? I know we had a lot of these images, which of course images are wonderful for podcast listeners. We tried our best to be as descriptive as humanly possible. They say a picture is worth 1,000 words, so we tried to give you 1,000 words for each picture.
Actually, I think the one that Krojak brought up earlier, the randomized behavior in NPCs, is a phenomenal.
Well, we're gonna talk about that.
Wow,
slow your caravan there, son. You asked me to guest host this. Slow your roll, snare it up, hold it up, break it down, whatever we got to do.
Too slow. We gotta go fast.
We're still on the dev update. Are we done with the dev update?
I think we are.
All right. Randomized NPCs.
There we go.
I believe. So,
all right.
So
you're up.
By randomized NPC behavior, is this meant for fighting specifically? Is this for other things as well? Like, what are we talking about specifically?
In this particular dev diary, is specifically talking about fighting. So let's start there.
Okay, so your average everyday spider, wolf, bear out in the world, I don't want it to all of a sudden do a thing that I've never seen before and just ruin my life, right? If I'm grinding on mobs, I kind of like the monotony of it. I've got Netflix on, I'm doing my thing. I don't need the wolf all of a sudden to, I don't know, after a half hour of killing these things, howl and then summon a bunch of other wolves and I don't know, just some of that. In your average everyday mob in the world, I don't need too much randomization. Boss fights, dungeon crawling, that kind of stuff, that's a different conversation.
And see, that's actually something that we had talked about 87 episodes ago. We talked about when we talked about raiding. One of the things we had mentioned was I like the idea of randomized in that the thing we saw with World of Warcraft that eventually happened was everything was so timed. You knew that after you push this point, you got 15 seconds of this. And that's what it became. I actually like the idea of mobs. Like, you can know what abilities they have, but they're not scripted. They randomly pick them.
Yeah, that's one of the things about being fighting a mob versus fighting people is you can't really predict what a person's going to do. Sometimes you can. Sometimes they can telegraph their move, especially when you're person to person. But with a mob, you know what they're going to do. There's always this, they step here, they step here, they step there. Unless you're woefully underpowered, you're going to take on a mob and make it. Giving them random abilities, or at least a random choice from the abilities they have, to me is going to make it tougher to survive.
And that would be the point.
Yeah.
The only issue that I then have with the randomized is if the raiding scene becomes a thing, world first would be very difficult to determine. Because what happens if you get an ability that specifically is a very punishing ability and they use it over and over and over and over again,
like
just because you got
times in a minute.
Yeah, like, I mean, there's certain abilities when you knew in World of Warcraft when something was going to happen, it was everyone clump up because this is just going to be a healing intensive nut. Well, if you can do that again and again and again and again, just because it rolled, oh, wow, we're doing the healing one again.
You set a percentage on it, right?
On the other hand,
randomize it, you give a weight.
What if they never use the ability, making that world first too easy for a specific group that RNG'd their way without that ability appearing in the fight?
From an immersion aspect, it makes the fight, it helps with replayability, but kills competitive. Because again, now what is the biggest thing we see with competitive? Everything has to be equal.
Even playing fields that your skill can come through.
Even when you get the first person shooter things. Yeah, because that's a technical term.
Yeah.
Maps are big because it's like, wait, does this side have an advantage when you play this map? If so, it's often thrown out of competitive games.
They're usually mirrored each side, right?
Yeah. Or if it is overly balanced or whatever, it's a best out of 3 where each side has to play a couple on. But generally, what we see is when we get to competitive related stuff, they throw out maps that are more creative, but clearly have advantages. They want it essentially a square, a perfect square or a diamond, and here you go. It's an even play field. One of the biggest competitive game in the world, League of Legends, is just a giant diamond.
Literally
sides on all sides.
Yeah.
Guess what? They have 2 maps on that. Well, they did when I played. Guess which map is never played? Second one.
Yep.
Because it's not as symmetrical as the first.
You know what? We don't even have to go down the competitive conversation route. Let's keep this in with the casual route. Sometimes having a lot of variation can just be less fun. Can just be more annoying. Right? We have to have like a balance between immersion and gameplay. Right? Sometimes things are not as immersive, but they play very well.
Right.
Or vice versa.
Right. Yeah, you're saying that's the difference between being amped up all the time, like raid ready. When I'm doing raids, like when I did World War, we had a set time we were going to do raids, however long it was going to be. When I was younger, I had more time and did more. But still, it was a matter of we had a set time. This is when we're going to do these raids. Awesome. You were hyped up. You don't want to be that level of hype when you're playing MMOs for hours, like an 8-hour stretch. Your body will like die.
Or even like immersion versus gameplay. Your character in the game needs 8 hours of real-time sleep in order to be playable after that. That's immersive. Is that necessarily great gameplay? No. Right? Your character must eat food. Survival games do this, but in an MMO, you must eat food every 3 or 4 hours in-game or dies. Right? Immersive, gameplay, different. I'm actually, one thing I'm debating when it comes to combat and combat games in general, I'm finding more and more that combat in games that root me in place, I find to be a bit frustrating. I want to be able to move. Maybe I'm too used to World of Warcraft's combat where I can strafe backwards and still auto attack and use abilities that aren't under instant whatever. But I'm finding melee combat that roots me in place to be a little bit frustrating and feels bad. It's very realistic. It's very immersive. But personally, I'm not really enjoying that gameplay perspective. So when it comes to randomization in NPC behavior and fights, some is fine. But if you get too much randomization, I fear that it might turn off gameplay for too many people. Depending. Like it depends on how much variance you want in a random mob or dungeon trash or a raid boss, how much variance you can tolerate, how much is fun before you get into just, oh my God, this guy has 20 abilities and each fight he uses 4 of them. Which 4 do we get this week? I don't know. Let's find out.
Well, I mean, that is a competitive thing that WoW now does.
One
with
boss
their,
like that is fun.
Challenge modes are their key dungeons or whatever. Hey, what are our buffs that we get to the dungeon this week? Oh dear.
Yeah. Yeah, you got to find that balance between that variation and fun. Good gameplay. I don't know. What would feel fun for you guys? How much variation, how much randomness would you want in a raid boss? What would feel fun for you?
Well, to me, it's not the raid boss. To me, it's the every other mob as I'm going from one place to another, right? If knowing how to take out a Lynx and Conan every time, it's like, and same thing with New World. Once we got to whatever the name of that cat was in New World, once you understood the mechanics, you weren't going to die to that cat. You knew when it did a certain move, what it was going to jump.
Yeah.
Right. You knew how to behave. You were fine. So it's like maybe tweak it a little bit so that not every time it made that move, it jumped.
Yeah.
So you start to go, if I'm making that move, maybe I'm going to jump, maybe I'm not.
That's exactly
a built feint, like from Lord Owl, where they can feint a move, like go to move and then pull back and then do something else.
Not every time, not all the time, just a little bit to make it a little more challenging rather than just wiping through a mob every time.
What about, let's say you face a brown wolf and the brown wolf is a certain level and it obeys a certain logic structure. And then at a higher level, you meet some red wolves and the red wolves add a little something to the fight. Now they can do this or now they can do that. More difficult versions of a mob might have more randomization and more difficulty, but not the low level one you encounter initially, maybe.
Well, and it's true. I can see that, right? If you look at talk about New World again, right? If you look at the lower level wolves at the beginning, and then as you got the higher level of the wolves, they did have different abilities.
Right?
That
makes sense.
How that would work. But again, so to me, it makes it different.
It does. Let's move into a more interesting part of this conversation because we already have beaten the combat. How about we talk about how mobs react to nodes? Randomized behavior based on node growth.
Ooh. Do you want their behavior to be randomized in reaction to a node growth? Do you
want to see
node becomes level 3? There is a 30% chance that these things go nuts and attack. Do you want that random, or do you want that triggered?
No, I want that random.
Makes sense.
Because I don't want it to be something that comes in all the time. But I also want groups of mobs to move based on the movements of the world around. This was actually the whole selling point of EverQuest Next and Storybricks, if anyone remembers that. The idea was the mobs were supposed to have a scripted set of, and I love this, okay? This is something that I want to see and actually affects randomness in a way. It's not random from a programmer's side, but from a player's side, it feels random. Instead of actually doing like percentage, they provided what were called needs for the NPCs. And the NPCs had certain needs and desires, which changed based on the environment around them. Such as if you were, let's just say a tiger, your main need is to feed and breed, right? There you go. That could be humans too. Anyway, that's anybody.
Already,
but those were the two primary things. As long as they were an equal, they were happy. If someone started killing off all the females, guess what? The need to breed goes up. The male tigers now go, well, there's food here, but I'm not meeting need number 2, and it migrates to where the other females are. Okay. The other thing they were talking about, they specifically said about orcs. Okay. In EverQuest, the idea was that these orcs, these NPC orcs, they're very tribal, they're very territorial. As cities built up, that would trigger their defensive need, and they would start attacking and launching raids against nearby settlements. When there wasn't any raids, they weren't in defensive mode. They weren't in territorial mode. They were in foraging mode. So therefore, they went out in smaller bands. The NPCs would band in groups of like 2 or 3 and go out and just forage. And that's, you'd find groups. But when there was a city, the smaller groups formed into larger groups to make war bands to attack the towns.
This sounds very cool. This sounds very difficult and very cool. Maybe not in initial release, but a big content patch down the road after the fact where they go, hey, we're adding some decision making to the NPCs that changes based off of nodes and stuff would be really cool.
Because I know they already said they want things to happen based on node growth. I have a feeling it's going to be scripted. You know, this node grows. Guess what? It's next to that mountain. Dragon event happens.
Yeah.
But what if it didn't? What if it could?
Yeah.
But there were random things that could happen.
Like, what if there's a % chance to trigger and it fails? And you go to the forums and you're like, hey, we built a metropolis right here. Nothing happened. Don't worry. Feel free to build the metropolis there on your own servers. And then they do, but the dragon does spawn instead. So I kind of like that. It's a bit of a RNG there. That a little bit of spice and variety.
And I think it will add a little bit because guess what? We're already going to know with all the nodes being static, there's going to be a wiki. There's going to be essentially the New World map compendium, whatever it is that they have, that you can literally see every node. You can see where everything grows. Someone will have that day 2 of Alpha 1. I'm telling you, they will. It's just going to happen.
You know what I want to see? The developers, 6 months in, a year in, all of a sudden go, hey, new version of the world map. New version of the world map now. All these events that trigger in all these locations, we're just going to change them around. All these locations for all these nodes, your current ones are grandfathered in, but the next time something spawns there, it's no longer this one, it's that one. Change it up once in a while.
And that was the premise of Storybricks, because guess what? If the nodes moved up and the orcs lost enough, they activate a new thing, the fight or flight. Well, they've lost. They migrate, and their entire pattern becomes like the orcs that were in this area at one point moved to a different area. That was their whole concept of story bricks and how it was supposed to work. I'm sad that didn't happen, but because that was very unique. Because like you said, it wouldn't be like, oh, I know orcs are always right by the river. That's their camp. Make it like Pokemon Go. They rotate. Nests rotate every 2 weeks. Like, are the animals still going to be there? Maybe not. Seasonal. Yeah.
Dude, the seasons rotate every week. You get a full year in a month for crops and all that jazz. You can have, like you said, things rotate with the seasons. So every patch day on a Tuesday or whatever, when you rotate the season, you can also rotate where things are rotating in these temperate climates because they want to stay in the warm areas. You can do that.
Yep. That would also then provide, especially since they said they don't want any junk loot, right? Resources, at least in the form of animal resources, would move based on season. Elk is available in the winter in the north, but guess what? When it's summer, they migrate to a different part.
That would be cool. That'd be so cool.
Now Node B, who didn't have any elk meat during X months, now has elk meat because now they migratory birds.
Like the orc encampment that gets snowed in, all of a sudden the orc NPCs are wearing warmer fur clothes. Just stuff like that. That'd be cool too. Little detail like that'd be nice to have too.
Right. All right. Well, I think that is going to be a show because we are hitting our 1 hour mark. Yeah. So let's go ahead and do our final shout outs here. Let everyone know where they can find you. I guess first we should find out what everyone's thought is. How are you guys feeling about the development and where it's going? I
think it's going okay. I mean, I kind of did not do well with this particular update. Updates that have one, I don't really care about mounts. I mean, they're okay, but at the end of the day, they're not going to determine whether I play a game or not.
You pick one favorite one and done.
Exactly. Yeah, that's the type of person I am. But the second reason was, like, it was mainly focused on like aesthetics, and seeing the world, while really cool beforehand, is cool. But I'm at the point where I know it's going to look good. I want to almost save that nostalgia and that, that feeling for when I get into the game and go through it. Because I've seen enough at this point that I know that I'm gonna like what they have. Now I want to preserve that mystique.
Right. Yeah. So when you step through the portal, it's whoa. Not, hey, I remember this screenshot.
Yeah. Exactly.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
Good.
All right. So I like what I see visually. I'm going to mirror a lot of what Alpha says. I love what I see visually. Like the videos we're seeing from the developers of the in-game MMO world look stunning for an early Alpha build. What we need to see now is a world fleshed out with functionality, a world fleshed out with quests. Like I can't even begin to imagine the amount of typing people are going to have to do for all the quest text, for all the quest mobs all around the world. And that's just questing. That's not the dungeons and the items and the crafting and the no. There's a lot of work to do in building that giant map we've seen, into a world that is a game. It looks great visually. Now put it in the work to get the functionality in and show us that stuff. I want to see that next.
Yeah.
Oh, you guys are building up great stuff. Honestly, you're talking about the next step, right? Because building that world it's gonna take time.
A lot of time.
You could bring in double their staff of dungeon builders and world builders, and it's still gonna take time. You've got the phenomenal groundwork. Visually, it's fantastic. But like you said, now it's the quests. Now it's every chest you need to place. Now it's every merchant, where you're going to put them. You got to figure all this out. How is it going to work as an economy? All this stuff starts to do it now. So let's talk about software parlance. To me, this is we're talking alpha. I'm still thinking they're just getting to the end of design. Yeah, it looks fantastic, but they got to design a whole lot more to make it work. Not physically, visually, but the rest of the world has to come together to make it work. But it's great. Also, I think it's going a great way.
We've only seen dwarves and humans and a little bit of elf. Like, there's still more races we have to see. The Tolnar have
Tolnar, yeah.
We
don't even know conceptually what they are. Like, we know from a very vague
lizard people and furry people and
lizard people, furry people.
Yeah, we got some anthropomorphic weirdness, but is it really going to be as anthropomorphic as we think, or is it literally going to be a person who has, like, I don't know, dry rot on their face or something?
All the naval stuff and on and on. There's so much to do. There's just so much to do.
Yeah. My final thoughts are: I lost 15 pounds, Steven. I need a new shirt. I need a large now. See, I'm rocking the Ashes of Creation shirt. You still have my address, I'm assuming, so feel free. Large, because this extra large is a little too baggy for me now. So,
why do you hate Canada? What does Canada do to you?
I will send this shirt to Crow afterwards because I think he's still an extra large now.
We are nice. We are kind. We are your northern neighbors. Stop treating us like a third world country and ship to Canada. I wanted to buy a hat. I wanted to buy a shirt. And the text said, no, we do not ship to third world Canadian countries. Thanks.
If I'm going to start streaming
Canadian third world countries.
No, Canadian third world countries. If I'm going to start streaming this, I'm going to need new shirts. Because, I mean, I rock my Mordau shirt when I'm playing Mordau. So there you go. Anyway. All right. Where can people find you? Let's go down the list. Stormzlord, go ahead.
All right. You can find Stormzlord at the Dungeon Crawler Network Discord. And that's where you can find me for now.
Okay.
All right.
Krojak.
You can find me on YouTube at KRO. That is where all my attention is right now. We're almost at 250,000 subs, 250,000. We're almost there. We'll hit there probably later this month. And then eventually, once this game is streamable, you'll see me on Twitch too. But for now, YouTube, KRO.
There you go. Alpha.
I can be found on YouTube pretty much strictly at youtube.com//Alpha Soul.
There you go. And of course, you can follow me over at twitch.tv/jealous, AGGELOS_DCN. That is where I am streaming now on a different channel. I am going to be building a YouTube channel. You can follow it. There's nothing there, but you can do it anyway because you love me and I will love you for that. There you go. Check that out. Join us there. Anyway, you can follow everything that DCN does over at dungeoncrawlernetwork.com. There you'll find links to all their social media, including Twitch, YouTube, Twitter, and Discord. Be sure to check out the Patreon at patreon.com/dungeoncrawlernetwork. And if you want to help support the show, consider leaving a 5-star review on iTunes so people know that we are a real podcast, that we say real words, and they never matter. Anyway, thank you for joining us on this episode of From the Ashes. We'll see you next time. Bye-bye.